Hello everyone and welcome back to Philetic Talks actually, and as you can see this golem here is complaining about something and he is soon to blow up and he's going to turn into this giant fire elemental. As you can see, we are panning around here to get a good look at the boss itself, and holy snap, it doesn't really look like anything, but it's a big column of fire and we have to kill it basically. And as you can see from the title, this is Philetic Talks Boss Fight 2. I did an original boss fight 11 months ago, bridging on a year. I did a Philetic Talks boss fight, so if you want a sort of blast from the past, you can go back and listen to that video or watch that video. And I haven't actually seen it myself. I'll probably watch it like after this, but obviously I must have made some opinions, I must have talked about some things in that video about the boss fights, and that's from 11 months ago. So if you want to listen to that before you listen to this, and you can sort of see the difference in what we've learned over the last 11 months, or what I've learned over the last 11 months. But I'm going to be focusing on this boss specifically. So yeah, I'm not talking about just broad boss fights, I'm more talking about the fire elemental boss. But generally the things I'm going to be talking about is going to, be a part of every boss fight we have. Because immediately after I finished this boss, what I did, I just took down some notes about, what I thought about the boss fight, how it sort of played out and what have you, so I could talk about it in this video. And give you my initial impressions of this boss fight. So I'm sure some of it applies to other bosses and some of it applies to Guild Wars 2 in general, but yeah, it's just talking about a boss fight, and I might do videos like this in the future about the different boss fights we come across in the game when the game is actually launched. So, the fire elemental boss, as you can see, we had a massive chain of events that led up. We had to go into this inquest sort of base, if you like, and they've messed everything up. They've screwed something up in the science, and all these things are getting spawned in, all these things from the different elementals. There's ice, there's fire, there's air, there's all this stuff going crazy, and everybody's worried and everybody wants to defeat it. So we go in to clean up the job, we take this golem with us, and then the golem malfunctions and explodes and turns into this fire elemental boss that we are fighting now. So this boss fight was about 20 minutes long or so. It's about 20 to half an hour basically, so let's round it up and say it's about 25 minutes. If people didn't give up, because basically this boss fight you're going to, well, we all died a hell of a lot. These red circles you see on the ground, the sort of hailing rain that produced them, and there's projectiles of fireballs that shoot out that you have to dodge, as you can sort of see on the left there. And also it spawns these creatures, fiery, flappy, wingy creatures that do basically everything it does a hell of a lot of damage, and it was hard to sort of dodge out the way of everything, because of course you only have 2 dodges and you have to wait for it to recharge, and basically you die a hell of a lot. But it was a decent length, and if people didn't give up, then it does stand to be around 25 minutes or so to be able to take this boss down. I felt it was a good length. With organised 25-man raids, it's more reliable if you get better communication, because obviously if you've got like your guild doing it, then you'll be able to revive each other a lot quicker. All of you are doing maximum damage as you possibly can. All of you are laying down the good buffs and the healing stuff and what have you. So you'd probably be able to do it a lot quicker if you're with an organised group of people. But with a random group of people like I was in, it was a decent length. And I like how we get these type of boss fights which just happen in the open world. You don't have to be in an instanced area. You don't have to be in a dungeon. This sort of boss fight just happens on the fly as you're leveling and as you manage to stumble upon this chain of events and you come on to this epic boss fight at the end of it. And I guess it's just nice having really hard bosses like this, because when you get to a very high level, you are able to sort of scale yourself back down and fight it again. So say if I'm level 70 or something and I hear about someone doing this boss fight, I can come back to this area and do the boss fight, and it'll be just as hard because my levels get scaled down to the level of this boss fight. So it's replayable, and it's fun, and it's a good length, and yeah, so if you just log on for half an hour and do this boss and log off, that's all good, I guess. So that's what I like about this. It also shows off the teamwork in the game. Everyone has to revive each other. You can see sort of what you can see from this video, I guess, what I was doing, of how big an advantage it is to revive each other. And one thing that I pointed out on a Interior of late is the importance of the down state. Now, before you get defeated in game, before you actually die in the game, you go into a down state, which you'll probably see me go into in a minute. And from this down state, you can be revived. As you can see, I'm reviving this ally here. And look how quickly he gets back onto his feet. So now that ally can just hit his number 6 skill, heal up, and get straight back into the action. But if he was defeated, it would have took me probably about 4 times to 5 times as long to revive that guy back up, to be able to get him back on his feet. So the importance of the down state is, I can't express it enough. If you see someone who's downed, try to get them back up. Just stop DPSing the boss, stop doing whatever you're doing, and try to revive him back up. A lot of people in this boss fight, that's all they were doing. They weren't even attacking the boss. They were just running around, getting people back up, because they realised how important it is to revive someone whilst they're in down state, because when they're defeated, it's a lot harder, especially when you got to dodge so much stuff. It's a lot harder to actually get people back on their feet. But as you can see here, also, if you've got skills in your down state skill bar here, as you can see, the thief can use his number 2 skill to sort of teleport to a different location. So I teleported all the way back to my allies who are sort of cowering at the back here, who put me on my feet straight away. I healed up and I can get straight back into the action. So that's a really, really important point, and it shows the teamwork within the game. Everybody knows the downstate mechanic. Everybody knows that they can get you back on your feet. So if you make it easy for them to do that, random people around you, without even having to type anything, without having to say anything, they would just do it, and it's nice and easy. And the fact that you've got the red circles and the white circles on the ground, everybody knows that the white circles are good. So if you put down your healing turrets, if you put down your buffs, if you put down your speed buffs, whatever you do that buffs your allies, put it down on the ground for them to use it if you have it available, because you'll be able to run on, everybody will run onto it, because they need that extra help to take down this boss, especially when there's no voice communication going on. Visually, you need that white circle for people to be able to run onto, especially if it's a healing one. Because I found in the game and in the boss fight especially, that even without a dedicated healer class, the actual healing that is within the game that most classes can do, for example, the engineer's healing turret gets put up in this fight somewhere, and also the elementalist healing rain, just putting it down can help out so much, because a lot of the time, you're, like you saw me earlier, I was on 4 HP. If someone had a healing turret up, I can just run over there, or even if they put down a healing pack or there was healing rain, anything to do with healing helps out an absolute ton. So if you've got any burst, any healing, that is just really important to put down. Even if it feels like it doesn't heal that much, it helps people out, it helps people to stay, and to survive, I guess. So yeah, while I look at anything else, yeah, I think a bad point about this boss fight, and maybe in Guild Wars 2, is the amount of skills you have, because obviously ArenaNet wants it so it's sort of action combat. It's, you're dodging around a lot, you don't have many skills to worry about, you can really perfect your character with traits and what have you, and what gear slots you use, what gem slots you use, and what amulets you use. If you go into PvP, you can really see the difference it sort of makes with traits and slots and stuff like this. So they have a limited amount of skills in order to make this action combat really fast paced and what have you. And as you can see, you can sort of switch out your skill bar, and for me it's for double dagger to short bow. But in the boss fights, I found this to be quite a negative point actually, because in this fight I could only really use a short bow effectively, because if I'm using my daggers, I'm having to be in melee range of the boss, and that makes it really hard for my allies to be able to revive me. It makes it really hard for me to do effective damage, because as you can see, the closer I get to the boss, the more dangerous it is, so I'm just dying and dying and dying. So the short bow is the most reliable option for me, and that means I'm only able to really use 5 skills, and of course the 3 skills that are in my utility bar. But these 5 skills over half an hour get really boring, especially because you sort of have to chain them with other skills. For example, the poison cloud goes with the sort of cluster bomb you do, and a lot of the time the only real skill you're using is your auto attack. So it gets quite boring, and I did prefer the I don't know, I do prefer Guild Wars 2's combat action system. I do prefer the dodging and the idea of weapon switching. And only having the 5 skills to train on that weapon. I prefer that, but I think the amount of skills that you can use, especially in this boss fight, was very, very limited, and it took out the fun to the game. I did much prefer, for example, in World of Warcraft, when you have to sort of go through your rotation and it's that fight to get to the top of the DPS sort of list. That was a lot more fun to me than just sort of auto attacking using my number 4 skill every now and then. Maybe that would change in future, but of course what Guild Wars 2 does have is the dodge mechanic, is the being able to quickly double tap out of the way of things. It made the boss fight a lot more fast paced, it made it a lot more excitable rather than just standing in one spot going through a DPS rotation. But I feel that the skills available to me, especially as maybe just as a thief, maybe if I was an elementalist for example, it would have been completely fine, but as a thief, being able to only use the short bow, only use about 2-3 skills, it wasn't the best, it wasn't the most fun. But as you can see, we're all celebrating here because we finally defeated this boss, and yeah, it was a triumph, I must tell you. But yeah, overall I did really like it. I think there is some incentive there to be able to buy the repair things from the gem store. So if you didn't know, the gem store used real money. You would buy gems and you could buy different items from the gem store, and one of them is a sort of portable repair kit, and this will allow you to have in your inventory a kit to repair all your gear. So the amount of times I died in this fight, I actually had to, because I was dying so much easier without my gear on, I actually had to go back to a town to repair my gear so I can come back and actually fight in the fight, if you like, because without my gear I was just dying way too quickly. But the repair kit that you can get from the gem store will do this immediately. You know, once you go back to the waypoint after you died, you can just repair all your gear on the fly and get straight back into the action. So there's an incentive to sort of buy stuff from the gem store there, but whether this will play a huge role later on in the game, I don't know. Maybe repair kits are going to be really expensive on the auction house, or a really demanded item. I don't know, that's something we'll have to find out, I guess, at the end of it. But for the Fire Elemental boss, from my experience of that boss in the game, at the moment I'm really excited for, as you can see me fail on this skill point here, I'm really excited for boss fights in Guild Wars 2. I've said in previous Philetic Talks or Teen Series or What's Something, I am a bit disappointed the lack of phases in boss fights so far. I'm not really seeing any phases. For example, in that fight it was just the same thing for about a whole half an hour, and I would love to see some sort of puzzle aspect to boss fights in future. For example, Guild Wars 2 have, they've done a lot on jumping puzzles and stuff, so if they do something similar within the boss fights, maybe the boss retreats back to a different location and everybody in the area has to figure out this sort of puzzle in order to get to the next area. Basically, I'd like to see some more creative phases to the boss fights, because that, after 20 minutes or so, it's a good length, but I would have liked to see different phases throughout the boss fight there. But hopefully later on in the game we'll be seeing that, and of course in dungeons and stuff it's a lot different because they're organised, they're instance events, but in the world bosses, who knows what we might be seeing in the future. So guys, that brings us to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought about the boss fight in the description below, or not description, in the comments, or if you actually fought a different boss or the same boss yourself. What are your thoughts on the boss? And yeah, I'll read them, maybe reply to a couple, and guys, I will see you all next time.